Welcome to Dog Day Afternoon. I am Gilles Gallant with BetsTV. You can follow me on Twitter at GDog5000. And it's the betting show where we talk NFL, we give some sports betting advice, a couple picks along the way. And the main thing I love to stress, I say this every week, we do not take things too seriously around here. Again, this is a sports betting show. We're not talking about politics, COVID vaccine, whatever is divisive topic of the day. Even though NFL, it can be very divisive, let's have a little fun with it along the way. So every week I'm going to cover the latest odds in the NFL and really give me an opportunity to talk to people I'm a big fan of and talk some shop. And this person, I'm not sure if many people know about, but I feel like they need to know about him because he is awesome. It is Ryan Horvat, co-host of BetMGM Tonight on the Odyssey Network. And honestly, this is just a little anecdote for me. All around good dude. Ryan, thank you for joining the show.
Thanks so much for having me, man. Usually Tuesdays, I'm not going to lie, like Tuesdays and Wednesdays, the worst days of the week because I really don't get a whole lot of sleep. I'm usually line shopping, of course, usually over at BetMGM. But I go back, man, and my teammates, everybody gives me a hard time because I go back and not only do I watch the condensed versions pretty much of any college football game that I have any interest in from last Saturday, but I do the same thing on the NFL Game Pass as well. So I usually don't get a whole lot of sleep on Tuesdays and Wednesdays. Not the most, attractive, fun, sexy days of the week, but man, I can't wait until we get into Thursday night football. Last night, Monday night, these primetime games, they've been up and down. I feel like we've had way too much Geno Smith the last couple of weeks, but still.
Yeah, I think it just happened that way. They just where Wilson happens to go down, and then we have Seahawks twice in primetime. It's just the worst timing ever. And then, of course, watching your Packers win probably one of the more convincing ones, like just as far as the betting action, like everybody was on the Cardinals, like over the Packers in that game. And then watching your Packers just kind of pull off that upset with especially the last second interception. Again, just amazing to watch. So we're going to start off here, Ryan. We're going to talk about the Packers a lot here in the show. We're going to start off here with a segment I like to call Apparently. And basically, if this is a sports take show and a sports betting show, we can't do something without a little bit of hot takes here. Throw some stuff on the wall, see what sticks. I'm going to throw some ridiculous takes. And there will be some truth to it, I think, as well. So we're going to start off here with the first topic. Apparently, Ryan, Sean Payton's going to win NFL Coach of the Year. Like, he is 25-1 right now at BetMGM. Little anecdote, when I first appeared on your show on BetMGM Tonight, I was throwing out that pick of saying that you need to look at him at 25-1 because the Saints right now are 5-2, despite having arguably the worst quarterback situation in the NFL. But only 4 games left versus playoff teams looking at their schedule. I mean, 2 of those 5 wins against the Bucs, against your Packers. Ryan, is it apparent as to me as it is to you then Sean Payton should be considered at least a top 3 candidate to win Coach of the Year in 2021?
Absolute top 5. I think a top 3 candidate. And we did have you on before the season even began. You threw that out there, and I jumped for joy. And that's when it was like that meme, like the Will Smith, like the Step Brothers, did we just become best friends? Because I was with you. Because everybody was down on the Saints, right? And I did not play their season win total over. I kind of wish that I did. Unfortunately, instead, I played the Carolina Panthers, which is not dead yet, but Sam Darnold scares the living hell out of me. But with the Saints, man, it's like, okay, Jameis Winston sat an entire season and learned from Sean Payton. And Jameis Winston really had to learn how to become a game manager. So you go back to that game, week 1 victory over the Packers. Now, I knew the Packers were in big trouble because they had to go to Florida where they never play well. Aaron Rodgers plays awful in Florida. I don't know what it is. But Jameis was so impressive in that game because you saw like the new version of Jameis Winston. There was one drop back he had where nobody was open down the field. He sat in the pocket, had way too much time in the pocket because the Packers don't generate any pass rush. At least they didn't the first couple weeks of the season.
On, yeah.
And instead of trying to force a Jameis-like throw into the end zone to make a play, he just threw the ball away. And I said, that's the greatest play. Like, we've seen Jameis Winston throw 30 touchdowns in a season. It was unfortunately the same season where we saw him throw 30 picks. We saw him win a national title at Florida State. And I said, that's the best play I've seen Jameis make, I think. He just threw the ball away. There was nothing there. He didn't try to force something. Now, unfortunately, he goes down, and they still found a way to win that game last Sunday against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, man, with Trevor Siemian, who, like, I had to Google, and I was like, Trevor Siemian is still in the league. And at one point, he threw a pass to Kevin White. And then you're like, wait a minute, Kevin White's still
bizarro world.
It was just like a bizarre world, like you said. But man, like defensively, they're still tough. Offensively, like it doesn't matter who's behind center, because that's the other thing. Like my take last year was that if Jameis Winston would have started in that playoff game, they probably would have beat Tampa Bay. A lot of unlucky things happened in that game. The Jared Cook fumble, of course, but they beat Brady twice. And look at when Teddy Bridgewater took over as starting quarterback a couple of years ago. Teddy went undefeated as starting quarterback of the Saints when they made him the highest paid backup. So I think every year Sean Payton could be in this conversation. But if this team gets into the playoffs, even though Drew Brees the last 3 years of his career was playing with a dead arm, he still didn't turn the ball over, and he was still Drew Brees. If they go to the playoffs the first year without him, with this roster, with the Michael Thomas nonsense that went down, like, is he hurt or what's going on with him? I think he has to be a top 3 candidate. And I love the price we're getting with him, man. So for sure.
Well, there's so many things I think that we can point to of why I feel like Peyton's cases needs to be elevated. Now, I think we have to put a huge disclaimer out there that there's still 10 games left of the year, and you just lost Jameis Winston, which, depending on how you feel, might not be that much of a loss, but still, it is. You have to think it's still somewhat of a drop off to Trevor Siemian and or Taysom Hill. So I think that's the one thing I agree with you. I just think that there's still pretty good value at 25-1 to get Sean Payton, because he has checked all the boxes so far, in my opinion, of where he would be there. Brandon Staley, if you're going to win Coach of the Year, you got to win games. They're 4-3 right now, and speeches just aren't going to cut it at this point. So, so we're going to move on to topic number 2 now, Ryan, and this one should be near and dear to your heart. I swear I'm not sucking up when I brought up this topic, because I was going to bring it up whether you were coming on the show today or not. But apparently, the Packers should be Super Bowl favorites. They're plus 800 as of today. They're third fave, though, in the NFC behind the Buccaneers and the Rams. But they've got, obviously, that impressive win over the Cardinals. And I still think that was an impressive win over the Bengals, even though both teams were trying to give away the ball. And even that 49ers win of coming back and getting that field goal after the Juszczyk touchdown. So I want to know, try to keep your bias off to the side. Is it apparent to me, as it is to you, that the Packers should be Super Bowl favorites right now?
It's hilarious, man, because we're recording here and I'm in my kitchen and you see there's literally a Go Pack Go magnet that is hanging. Like, that's not my son's artwork or his spelling test. Those are my season win totals in the NFL and college football that we did together as a family that are hanging up. But so I will keep my bias out of this, right? I thought that was one of the more impressive wins in the last decade for the Green Bay Packers, definitely under their new head coach, not new anymore, third-year head coach, Matt LaFleur, because you had no Devontae Adams. You had no Allen Lazard. They've become a running football team the last couple of years. You wouldn't realize that because Aaron Rodgers last season won MVP, which was awesome because they had the 25-1 MVP ticket. But should they be the favorites? The 2 teams that are ahead of them right now in the NFC are the 2 teams that scare me. And I think that the price is rightfully so, because those 2 teams, I don't think Green Bay matches up too well with. Tampa Bay, we saw last year in both meetings. Like, Green Bay just couldn't get any pressure on Tom Brady. They did one time. They only got after him one time, and it was a face mask penalty against Rashawn Gary. Right now, Zadarius Smith. Here's what concerns me about the Packers. If Jair Alexander, who I think is a top 3, if not the best corner, and this is no bias, like, you don't hear his name a lot.
Top 3 for sure.
You know what I mean? Nobody targets him. So, like, if you look at, hey, where's Calvin Ridley today? Where's Julio Jones today? Whoever he defends, that guy is taken out of the game plan. I call it Jair Island now. If they get him back healthy and if they could get Zadarius Smith back healthy, I think they should be the favorites. But right now, we don't know if either of those guys are coming back. Like, with Jair, he's dealing with this AC joint, shoulder surgery. I'm not a doctor. I know that they're trying to hold off on surgery because surgery ends this season. Zadarius Smith has been dealing with a back injury that he dealt with all summer long that we didn't really know about. He had surgery. He goes on the IR. Then he tweets out this week that he's headed back to Green Bay. Matt LaFleur does his weekly press conference, and he's like, we still don't expect Zadarius back anytime soon. So that's what concerns me. I have no concerns about the offensive side of the ball, man. Aaron Rodgers is going to hang 30, 35, no matter who he's going against. He did it in the NFC title game against that Tampa Bay defense that held Mahomes out of the end zone in the Super Bowl. What concerns me? The defensive side of the ball. They've been able to squeak by here the last couple of weeks with these dudes off the street that nobody's ever heard of. But going against Tampa Bay, that's concerning. And then the Rams. You look what the Rams did defensively with Von Miller, Aaron Donald, and Jalen Ramsey. Like, that's mad stuff, man. That's an all-star team. And then I have concern about the defensive side of the ball because if Jair doesn't come back, your number one corner for Green Bay is Eric Stokes.
Oh, okay.
Stokes is great out of Georgia, but he's a rookie. So if you put him on Kupp, who's on Robert Woods? Kevin King? Good luck with that, man. Nobody even guys that watch football like maybe once or twice a year, like the casual fans know Kevin King's name, our number 2 corner in Green Bay. That's a problem because everybody saw him get burned by Scotty Miller, and everybody saw Green Bay season come to an end with that defensive holding call in the NFC title game. So I think for me, man, it's the Rams and the Bucks. But you'll see me joking around on Twitter that they should be favored because that's the homer in me, man. But with Aaron Rodgers, you always have a chance. But I just don't know how they match up against Tampa Bay and the Rams. So I'd put those 2 teams ahead of them.
Yeah, I think it's subjective. I think also you're probably like me. I'm more of a glass half empty fan of the Cowboys, even though I think we're looking fantastic. I'm never going to just act like, oh, well, the odds say we're the Super Bowl favorites, so we're going to just smash. No, that's not how it works. I've seen this team. I know this team inside and out. I know what's wrong with it. I know what we do well, and I know even some of the stuff that people think we do well, which is not actually that good. So I think I'm with you right there. The Cowboys are pretty much right behind those teams as well. I'm not going to put them in that category yet. But I do think that the Packers, in order for them to win the Super Bowl, they got to get the 1 seed. I think they got to be able to play in Lambeau in mid-January because I think it was literally down to a handful of plays of where they should have been in the Super Bowl over the Bucks. So I just think that it's a little bit closer with the Bucks than maybe what the final score indicated or that blowout loss in Tampa during the season. I think that was just an anomaly because we all know that Rodgers has one game a year where he just has a road game and just turfs it.
Also, I will say this really quick before we move on. Like, if you go back to that game, I think they beat Tampa Bay. So I shouldn't say that they match up so terribly, okay? They got blown out in the regular season because they didn't show up. Like I said, it's a Tampa game. Rodgers doesn't play good in Florida. They got him at Lambeau. I think, and this isn't just me talking as a homer, I thought they were the best team in the NFC last year, maybe in the league. They would have beat the Chiefs. The problem with it was that pass rush, and then you're going against a Green Bay offensive line that didn't have the best tackle in all of football, the highest paid tackle in David Bakhtiari. He's still out right now, but they're hoping to get him back maybe by this week against the Chiefs, definitely by next week from a torn ACL. So, man, you're moving Elton Jenkins around. You were moving guys around. If they have a completely healthy offensive line, Rodgers doesn't get hit that many times because he got hit a lot in that game. He only got sacked 20 times last year. So I think that if they're fully healthy, I do think they match up good with Tampa Bay, but the Rams are a scary team, man, and they got even scarier yesterday.
So, yeah, not even a hot take. I knew that I'd have you on my side here. All right, so final one here. Apparently, the Patriots are alive in the AFC East. They are plus 850 to come back and win the division. They're 1.5 games back of Buffalo. They're 4-4. Bills are 5-2. They got 2 games still left to play against the Bills. And just kind of looking at the schedule, like the Bills have some tough games coming up here. Just obviously not the first 2 games. They play the Jets and Jaguars here, so that's probably going to only increase their lead, put more pressure on the Patriots to win their next 2 games. But the Jags and Finns are basically up for the Patriots to finish off the season in the final 2 games after we get those final 2 games against the Bills. I want to know from your perspective at plus 850 with odds from BetMGM, are the Patriots alive? Are they alive in the AFC East? Is it apparent it is to you as it is to me?
Plus 850, Bill Belichick, plus 850. I think that they're still alive for a small little flyer just because I do think the Bills are that good on both sides of the ball.
They're the favorite to win the Super Bowl right now.
Right, so. Exactly. And for a reason, man. But at the same time, it's the NFL and injuries do happen. And you've seen how crazy things have been in the AFC. I love Overreaction Monday, where a couple weeks ago, you said it because of the Brandon Staley press conferences. Everybody loved the Chargers, man. Maybe they're a year away. Maybe, they're too young to realize that they're too good or blah, 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 whatever we were saying. Last week, it was the Bengals, first place in the AFC. They were the team to beat. They get knocked off by Mike White and the Jets. A couple weeks ago, it was the Ravens and Lamar. So all I'm saying is injuries do happen. And I would never even want to say this, but Josh Allen goes down, something like that happens. You got Mitchell Trubisky starting at quarterback. I do like this Patriots team. One of those win totals behind me was the season win total over. I like Mac Jones. I think Mac Jones is the best rookie quarterback. He's also been put in the best situation. You know what I mean? And he's healthy.
We're going to talk about rookie of the year here in a bit, but I agree with you right now out of the quarterbacks for sure. I think he's the last.
defensive side of the ball, New England's only going to continue to get better, which is crazy because they lost. Say what you want about Stephon Gilmore. We'll see what he looks like if he's, still 80% of what he used to be when he was one of the top corners in the league just 2 years ago. But still defensively, I have enough trust in them. I think it's worth a little flyer. I think that's worth a flyer. I think the Colts are worth a flyer with the Derrick Henry news, man. It would have been really worth a flyer if they would have pulled that one off last week, but they blow that 14-0 lead and cost me a bunch of money. When was this guy going to realize that he's not left-handed? But going back to the original question here, I do like the Pats, man. I think that it's worth a flyer.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, like that's the one thing I would probably I think they're very much like, I don't think the hot take is very much that they're alive in the AFC East. I think the hot take would be like putting like a Max Whale play on them to come back and win the AFC East. No, definitely sprinkles here for this. And it's because of the fact that they still have both games left against the Bills. Like that to me is the difference because of the 1.5. If they're keeping pace with each other, and then of course I don't like to wish on injury or whatever, or don't make bets for that specific purpose. But this is the NFL, and there's still 10 weeks left, or 9 to 10 weeks left, depending on if you had a bye yet. All right, so we're going to move on to some futures odds now. And first team I want to take a look at is a team that you talked about when we were talking about the NFC picture, and that's the Los Angeles Rams. Looking at some of their futures, right now for them to win the Super Bowl, they're plus 650. Matthew Stafford, NFL MVP, sitting at 6-1. He's, I believe, in the third favorite. All these odds are brought to you by BetMGM, by the way. Sean McVay, Coach of the Year, at 9-1. And Rams to win the NFC at 6-1. So, Ryan, I posed the question to you. If you had to bet a unit of your hard-earned BetMGM dollars and put it in a BetMGM bet here, which of these futures for the Rams would you be willing to bet on?
Well, I'm glad that we're starting here because it's one that I actually did place just yesterday, and I played it in the preseason, and I played it again. So some people were giving me a hard time because I've always been a big Matthew Stafford guy, man, because Matthew Stafford has just always been in a really bad situation in Detroit. You could bring up the lack of playoff success, lack of playoff appearances, but also look at it like this. The one season that Matthew Stafford actually had an offensive-minded head coach, he actually went to the playoffs. Now he has all these weapons. Robert Woods, Cooper Kupp, who he loves Cooper Kupp. Their relationship, I love the Cooper Kupp.
It's over the top. Yeah, I was going to say, I wish that I loved somebody the way that he loves Cooper Kupp, throwing to Cooper Kupp in the red zone, because it would be match made in heaven.
Besides my son and my wife, the only people comparable, and Aaron Rodgers, of course, are Cooper Kupp and Matthew Stafford, because they've made me a tremendous amount of money already this season. And then I love watching the press conferences where McVay's like, we got to get Robert Woods involved. And then I'm like, boom, hammering those props. But they're stacked with weapons. And just yesterday, they got this much better on the defensive side of the ball. Now, Von Miller, is he Von Miller from 4 or 5 years ago? No. But
he can still cause havoc.
Right, man. And that's the thing. You already got a double team Aaron Donald. He's going to be freed up. I won't be surprised if he has 6-7 sacks here the second half of the season. You have Jalen Ramsey, who Jalen Ramsey is, if not the best corner in the league, he's definitely top 3. So for me, it would be the Super Bowl. Now, McVay, he's always an interesting choice to win Coach of the Year, but I'm going to stay away from that one. Stafford to win MVP, very interesting. I'll go with the odds of the Rams to win the Super Bowl. I do think they match up well against everybody in the NFC and the AFC as well.
I'm with you because I think that's the best value, because I think even if let's just use a hypothetical Super Bowl matchup. Let's say it's Rams-Bills. They're going to probably be favored in that game.
Yeah.
Not by much, but it'll probably be like Rams -1 or something along those lines. And any other team outside of the Bills, the Rams are definitely going to be favored in that Super Bowl. So I think you're getting value there. Automatically being able to have the favorite in a Super Bowl matchup, I think, is a matchup advantage just because of the hedging opportunities.
Completely agree.
I think the issue with Stafford from an MVP standpoint is, and again, I just think the narrative and the statistics aren't going to match up with what you see with Kyler Murray, Dak Prescott, and even Tom Brady. So Kyler and Dak have the narrative. Brady's got the stats. I just don't know if Stafford's going to have enough to push that over the top, because even as much as I think that Stafford is better than Goff, the Rams aren't significantly better as a result of Stafford. Yes, they are. Statistically, they're better, but I'm just saying, in the standings and just overall the team, you knew they were going to make the playoffs with or without Goff. So then once you put Stafford in there, there may be 2 wins better. Whereas, Dak just look at the Cowboys last year to this year of his presence, and even just look at Kyler just being, they were undefeated up until last Thursday. So that would be my opinion of those four that I think we're both in agreement that the Super Bowl odds, I still think there's decent value here, getting them at plus 650.
Absolutely, man. And it's just amazing to watch Sean McVay with somebody behind center that could finally do the things that he wants to do, like push the ball down the field. Imagine if Cam Akers doesn't go down before the season even begins. Imagine what that run game would look like. And it's been just fine. And they're so scary offensively. And that was the number 1 ranked defense last year. And now they just got better yesterday. So I think that is the way to go.
And I think you might, I don't know if you think this, but this has kind of been my opinion of McVay. And even though I think he's easily a top 3, maybe even top 5 coach, depending on your opinion of him, I don't think he's going to win another Coach of the Year award in his time, just because now the cat's out of the bag. Like, you can't surprise people with what you're doing, and you basically have to outdo what you've already done to kind of take that award. And you're not going to go to the worst to first narrative with him. You're not going to win significantly more games. So I would probably avoid him for Coach of the Year props and markets. Now, we're going to move on to another LA team. We're going to check out the Los Angeles Chargers and take a look at some of their futures odds coming off a ugly home loss to the Patriots. Really shocked me how bad they got spanked there. To win the Super Bowl, sitting at 25-1. They opened the season at plus 3,000. The reason why I know that is because I have a Super Bowl bet on the Chargers at 30-1. Justin Herbert for NFL MVP at 30-1. At one point, he was around 11-12-1 right after that Chiefs win. Brandon Staley, as we mentioned, is the favorite for NFL Coach of the Year at plus 650. And finally, the Chargers to win the AFC at 11-1. Might be a little bit more of a safer pick. Ryan, of these four, do any of those tickle your fancy of what you would want to bet on for Chargers futures?
It's funny because 2 weeks ago, I would have took a flyer on the Super Bowl. Man, the play calling, they just for some reason, the first couple weeks of the season, I hated the play calls, especially on early downs. And then they just wouldn't unleash Justin Herbert, let him throw the ball down the field. He's been shaky. He missed some throws last week. I still love Justin Herbert. I was really high on him coming out of Oregon. For me, probably it's going to be a boring pick, but it probably would just be Brandon Staley to win Coach of the Year plus 650. He's a media darling. Anything the guy says gets clipped. We see it on Twitter over and over and over. So I feel like they get into the playoffs, they get double-digit victories, and now with 17 games, I think that's obviously possible. The last couple of weeks haven't looked good. They're going to need to bounce back. I think if you look at their schedule, definitely some winnable games here. I think that they could sneak into the postseason and still win 10 games. I think that the play calling has to improve. And also, we're just seeing from Justin Herbert, as good as he is, every quarterback goes through sophomore slumps. And film's out there. Mahomes, the defenses haven't figured out Patrick Mahomes, but when there's more film on you, you know what I mean? We see it even with Aaron Rodgers. There's ways that you could prevent Aaron Rodgers from having huge days. You play cover 2 shell. So I'd probably go, all that said, with Staley to win Coach of the Year. I think the Chargers are still a year away from being a year away. I think Herbert is alive for MVP, but right now I'm looking more at Lamar and Dak, maybe even Kyler. So I'd probably go Coach of the Year on this one.
I think this is why I agree with you with Staley, mainly because of the value. First off, he opened around, I believe it was 11-1 to win, and he was as low as plus 300, after the Chiefs win and after that Raiders win, for example. He was almost, I don't want to say he was odds on favorite, but he was pretty close. And now you're getting him at plus 650. So already you're kind of being able to buy high a little bit comparatively to what you were seeing in previous weeks. Here's my issue with the Super Bowl or AFC. They can't stop the run. And that's a really big issue. You've seen that now repeatedly where it's come back to bite them. And the Patriots ran all over them. The Browns probably should have won that game. They ran all over them. Even the Raiders, to a lesser extent, were running on them, but then just landslide. You couldn't stop the pass. And that was the end of the run. So Herbert, the reason why I wouldn't bet on him for MVP is that I'm wondering, and again, this is kind of just thinking out loud here, is that if they start winning games again, are they going to attribute that to Herbert, or are they going to attribute that to Staley? I think they're going to attribute that to Staley more so than Herbert. So I think that's why I would say you put your money on Staley instead, because we've seen them struggle, and I'm not sure how much of the flack was given to Staley for these past few weeks as much as it was put on Herbert. So I think that's the one thing I would say is I still think if they win the AFC West, and are able to kind of get past Oakland, listen to me, Las Vegas, who are 5-2. I do it
all the time.
I know, I do this all. San Diego is another one that I do as well with the Chargers.
The Chargers will always be San Diego to me, man.
Well, according to Phillip Rivers, for sure. So, yeah, I think we're in agreement. Brandon Staley, I think this is pretty good value at plus 650. I would probably go look at that right now. But looking at the candidates, it's Sean Payton. Sean Payton is the one who I'm going for. But just looking at the top three right now, I almost spit out my drink when I was doing research for the show. Mike McCarthy is number 2 on the odds board. Sorry, guys. He should not be even top 5. They're winning in spite of him. Cliff Kingsbury, same thing. He's 3rd on the odds board. I feel like if your team wins and you weren't on the sideline, you should automatically be revoked for any type of consideration for Coach of the Year. Again, that's just my opinion. But that's kind of where I'm looking at it, is that you got to start looking now down the odds board of who's actually in there from a narrative standpoint. And right now, outside of Staley and Sean McVay, and to a lesser extent, I guess maybe Zach Taylor, Sean Payton to me has the best narrative and the best record. So
exactly, and he doesn't have the quarterback, because with McVay, if you're looking at Matthew Stafford playing at an MVP level, that may take away, because I thought it was crazy that Matt LaFleur wasn't getting more love. And again, this wasn't me being a homer. This is Mike McCarthy had the Green Bay Packers at 7-9, and the locker room hated each other. LaFleur comes in, he's using pre-snap motion, completely changes the offense to something that Aaron Rodgers never felt comfortable doing. They went 13-3. It was like, okay, well, why didn't he win Coach of the Year? Well, he has Aaron Rodgers. But Rodgers had a down year so much that they even drafted his eventual replacement. The year after, they were even better, had the number 1 offense in the league.
And he wins.
It made sense, though, because, Kevin Stefanski won it. And if you take the Browns to the playoffs and the Browns to a playoff win, you deserve it. But so I feel like Staley, with him, I feel like he is the new Stefanski or LaFleur. And that's why I don't think McVay will get it anymore. Now they're going to be looking from who came from the McVay tree, who's the next 32-year-old young guy that's doing innovative stuff. So I don't think it would be McVay. I think that's the pick, man. I think it comes down between him and Peyton, whoever gets in the playoffs.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's move on to the third team now. Moving over, sticking with the AFC, we're going to look at the Pittsburgh Steelers, coming off a very convincing win over the Browns. At least it was convincing in my opinion. To win the Super Bowl, though, odds makers are not convinced. 65-1 for Super Bowl odds. Najee Harris, Offensive Rookie of the Year, still sitting at 11-1. Steelers win to AFC. That's sitting at 30-1. And finally, Steelers win to AFC North at plus 650. Ryan, of these 4, do any of these blow your skirt up? Any of them that you're thinking, you know what, I'm going to put a unit on for this?
Man, I hate that we had to go here with the Steelers, because one of my other win totals, and I'm probably going to be off, was I did go under. And I said, you know what? I hate that I'm doing this. This is a fate of Ben Roethlisberger.
I think it was the line. Yeah.
But 8.5 was the number. But I hate fading Mike Tomlin. Mike Tomlin's a great head coach. So I can't take them to win the division, because I do ultimately think, I'm sitting there, I'm looking at Baltimore 5-2. I really like this Baltimore team. I really like this Bengals team, but kind of like with the Chargers, I think they're a year away from being a year away. The Browns are 4-4 coming up this weekend. This is a must win almost for the Browns. And it sucks, man, because that was the team that I was high on. They're just probably going to be the team this year that had all the talent in the world, but just couldn't stay healthy. Now we're seeing there's chemistry issues. OBJ's dad is tweeting or whatever.
That just happened today too. Oh my God. Yeah.
What a wild day. This is what you wake up to. I can't even sleep in, because if you sleep in, you miss everything. I think I would go with Najee Harris, Rookie of the Year. I really don't want to do so.
Okay.
But let's say that this team wins 9-10 games. Let's say they get into the playoffs. It's going to be because of his legs, man. They're going to run this poor kid into the ground the same way they did with Lev Bell when he was there. So Roethlisberger can't throw the ball down the field anymore. It's weird, because sometimes Roethlisberger still looks like he has some zip on his throws, and then sometimes he's throwing ducks out there, and you're like, this guy's done. He's been done for years.
I'd probably go when he scrambled for that 2-point conversion.
Yeah,
just oh my God, yeah. So I'm with you, man, about Najee Harris. So here's the thing: of these 4, not going to take them to win the Super Bowl at 65-1. Their defense isn't strong enough, and Ben is just severely compromised being able to throw the football. So that means that I'm probably going to take out the AFC. I don't think that they can get past the Bills, even though they did beat the Bills in week 1, so I should probably take that back. I'm just a little dubious at 30-1. AFC North did catch my eye plus 650, but Najee Harris at 11-1 to me, I feel like still has legs, no pun intended. The reason being is because he is basically Alvin Kamara light. He is the offense on that team right now. Right. He's going to probably be a top 3, maybe even at least top 5 running back in receptions this year. Is the touchdown leader on the team, basically is the engine that keeps this offense even moving, rolling, keeping the chains moving, I should say. And the thing is that right now, Ja'Marr Chase, if he's not an odds-on favorite at your sports book, he's probably close to it to win Rookie of the Year and deserves to be the favorite. So let's put that out there first. But the Bengals, just something with me, I'm not really 100% sold. Even though I like them, I'm just not 100% sold to say, like, okay, their offense is back and they're going to be able to just do this. Because every touchdown I feel like that Ja'Marr Chase catches, like, it's almost like in defiance of what I'm thinking. Like, every time that they throw it, it's like, okay, that's going to be intercepted. Oh my God, he has the ball and he's running alone. And it's like, oh my God, he's going to get tackled here. Oh my God, he broke a tackle. Now it's an 80-yard touchdown. So that's one thing that is these splash plays. I'm not sure that they could be sustainable, because I'm pretty sure right now at this point he has like 12 catches of 20 yards or more. I'm fairly certain all but one touchdown are touchdowns of over 35 yards or more. And so with that, that's all I'm getting at, is that I'm not saying that they can't be sustainable, but I'm going to err on the side of caution that I think that that's been how he's been getting his touchdowns and points and yards. And I think teams are going to start to buckle up on that. Now, he's just so good that he might, teams have been trying to do that, and it just hasn't been doing it. They haven't been able to stop it. So that's the reason why, because again, I feel like the quarterbacks are not separating themselves. Even Mac Jones, maybe to a lesser extent, but even then, even if they were to make the playoffs, I would still probably lean towards Najee and Ja'Marr Chase just based on the statistics alone. But Najee at 11-1, I feel like is still pretty good value for offensive rookie of the year, especially based on how he's being used. Yeah,
and really quick, I'll say last thing, 11-1, like you said with Chase. The only other thing is, I know that they do have guys at the skill position, in Pittsburgh, but with Najee Harris, that's 50% of the offense. Where I love Chase, and I think he's going to be a Hall of Famer. But also, look at all the weapons they have in Cincinnati. You have Joe Mixon, you have T. Higgins, who was making some ridiculous grabs. They're just stacked there. So
Tyler Boyd, CJ Uzomah,
Tyler Boyd. Yeah. So that's the only other thing. It's hard to game plan against all of those dudes. So sometimes I feel like Chase does get freed up, and he runs 2 or 3 routes. Which is going to improve. But I love him. Don't get me wrong. He's going to win Rookie of the Year. But as far as value, I like Harris 11-1.
All right. So we're going to recap here. We like the Rams at the Super Bowl for plus 650. We like Brandon Staley at plus 650 for NFL Coach of the Year. And maybe you might be more about the AFC North, but I think we're both in agreement. I think that Najee Harris offers the best value right now at 11-1 for Offensive Rookie of the Year, pending that Ja'Marr Chase can just stop being elite. Because really, and that I'm not sure if people are willing to bet on that. I will try. We're going to move on to week 9 now. 4 games I sent to you before the show, Ryan, of odds here. One of them being that Browns-Bengals game that we were kind of briefly touching on. And I wanted to see what your thoughts were if you're going to be betting any of these 4 games. I have one pick of these that I really like, but I wanted to read them off here. So it's the Browns are at the Bengals. Bengals are -3 right now. Vikings at the Ravens. The Ravens are home favorites at -5.5. Packers versus at Chiefs. Now, that was actually Chiefs -3, but after that game against the Giants, that's moved now to Packers -1. What a big swing from that. And then finally, Patriots at Panthers. The Patriots are actually 3.5-point road favorites. Of these 4 games, have you got any early bets in? And if you do, what do you got?
Yeah, so that Green Bay Kansas City game, that's something that would scare me right there as a Packer fan, just moving through key numbers and going from Green Bay being a 3.5-point road dog to now being, whether we're depending where you're looking at it, +1 or a 1-point favorite. That scares me a little bit. I didn't play that though. Because I feel like that is going to be a pick 'em. That's one where I'm going to probably look to play some player props and maybe just stay away from, because again, like we saw from Kansas City last night, they can't stop turning the football over. But I don't really want to bet against Patrick Mahomes right now until I know Green Bay is going to be healthier on the defensive side of the ball, because still I do worry about Eric Stokes following around Tyreek Hill his rookie year. We will have no Jair, no Za'Darius next week. One that I played immediately was Cleveland, and there was some line movement depending where you were looking at it, the look-aheads, where they were originally, they could have been 4.5-point favorites in this game. Now they're 3-point dogs taking on the Bengals. And again, I think we're overhyping the Bengals. I do like the Bengals. They spent all that money on the defensive side of the ball, and it's starting to pay off. I like Joe Burrow. He's tough as hell. You saw it last week when he had to go with the silent count because he couldn't even speak. Doesn't need to learn how to slide. He's got all those weapons, but I feel like this is like the Browns Super Bowl right now. Like, they need this game. I don't think I'm overreacting. I said that last week and they laid an egg. I'm worried about Baker Mayfield's health. I'm also just worried about Baker Mayfield because Baker Mayfield, when he has a clean pocket, is a completely different quarterback than Baker Mayfield under pressure, who is like the 30 or 31st ranked quarterback in the league when you pressure him. You got to get Nick Chubb back 100%. Sucks about the Kareem Hunt going on the IR because you had the best 1-2 punch in the entire NFL where both guys were averaging over 4 or 5 yards per pop. Odell Beckham Jr. doesn't seem like he wants to be there now. Jarvis Landry's been playing beat up, and he was awful last week. As bad as Baker was, a lot of drops last week. I'm worried about them on the defensive side of the ball, even though, they've stayed relatively healthy there. Like, they have to start getting some turnovers, making some plays here, because I think that that's what it's going to lead to. Still, I'm getting the Browns +3. This might be a trap. I'm going to take the points with Cleveland. I think that they're going to win this game outright. I think that it's a field goal game at worst. I think last I saw they were plus money, +125 on the money line. I'll take them as 3-point dogs on the road in Cincinnati. I like this Bengals team. I think they're a year away, whereas Cleveland, they went all in on this year. And right now they're 4-4, and it's not looking good.
Yeah, and I think Browns' money line is probably where I'm actually leaning towards because of those matchups that you just specified. And I think the thing that's going to actually really tip the edge for me is Joe Burrow is still one of the most sacked quarterbacks in the league. And that's pretty much exactly how they kind of coughed that game up, was defensive pressure from the Jets defensive line that made him throw that interception in his own end that basically kind of just turned the whole game. And I think Myles Garrett's probably, I haven't seen any props as of yet for sack props, but I would probably look at him at least 1.5 to 2 sacks in that game. So that, I'm kind of with you on that. Actually, the game that surprisingly of the 4, if I had to choose, kind of like the Vikings at +5.5. They suck me in every week, and it's because of how well they can move the ball offensively and these weapons like Dalvin Cook and Thielen and Justin Jefferson. And I think they're a victim of their own circumstance. Like, I feel like a lot of the time when they're favorites, you don't want anything to do with them, but when you're giving them points, like maybe 5.5 to 6 or anything that's under the key number there, that's the time you want to look at them, because that's when they're the king of garbage time, in my opinion, as well. Like, they're the type of team that I do trust with a minute to go to be able to go down the field and potentially either tie the game or go ahead or throw an interception, but still cover. Right. That's basically what of the 3.
They can have one loss right now, man. They're such a weird team. And if you look at every defensive category, they're solid. And Kirk Cousins has been balling out all season long. He has all those weapons, but last week was it's so frustrating. And I think that, if they don't get into the playoffs this year, Mike Zimmer's done. But any team would kill for Dalvin Cook, Justin Jefferson, and Adam Thielen. And they could not get the ball to any of those guys last week. It was, or this a couple days ago. It was so frustrating to watch, man. And I still can't believe Dallas pulled that game out. But a perfect example of when you buy into Minnesota, they let you down. And then when you sleep on them or they're dogs and you stay away or you fade them, that's when they come back to haunt you. And Kirk Cousins throws for 400 yards.
Yeah, so I'll be looking at, I might even be bold. I might even just take the money line and just see what we can do with that. I know. We'll see. That's always been my strategy. That's how I, a lot of the time. The one thing that's good about that is that it is still within 2 key numbers. Like, you could still have the 3, or even just the 1 point kind of win kind of thing and still kind of get in there. Probably what I would do is maybe wait till this might be one of the few games where maybe you actually do wait closer to kickoff, because I think a lot of the public money is going to come in more on the Ravens. Maybe you can get a 6, maybe a 6.5, maybe a little bit better of a spread for the Vikings. I don't think you want to take them right now when public consensus is that they're trash because they just lost to Cooper Rush. All right, now we're going to move on to our final segment here, Ryan, and it is a rapid fire Q&A. I do not share these questions with the guests beforehand, so all of this will be genuine reaction. I promise that I won't tease him too much or give him the gears too much. This one's actually going to be a nice little G-rated show here. So, okay, so we start off. We actually already talked about this, but this is just the layup question that I always like to ask. Ryan, who's winning the AFC North?
Man, the AFC North. Oh, you're going to throw me on the spot like this when we just got done talking about it.
Gun to your head. You got 30 seconds to choose. Who you got? Tick, 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 tick.
AFC North, Ravens.
All right, Ryan, being a Packers fan, have you forgiven Brett Favre yet for going to Minnesota?
No, I will never forgive Brett Favre. He could have went anywhere on this planet, but you don't go to Minnesota. You could have went to Detroit. Even he could have went to Chicago because I was born there, but not Minnesota. Nope. I hate the horn. I hate the skull chant. We'll never forgive Brett Favre.
I got to watch Brett Favre in his first year in Minnesota. I lived very close to Minneapolis, and I would drive down. And I got to watch them play, specifically Week 17 against the Giants, where he threw like 3 touchdowns in the first half, and like Tavares Jackson was playing by like the end of the third quarter, and we left. And it was just one of those games where I was just like, I could not believe the amount of like just love how it changed so quickly, because I was watching people wearing the split jersey with half purple, half green, Brett Favre and whatever else. And I was like, wow, like this guy was like your bitter rival for years, and you just forgave that pretty quickly. And It's because of how bad the quarterback situation has been for years in Minnesota. All right, now, Ryan, the next question, this is called F, Marry, Kill. I'm going to give you 3 people, and you have to decide if you're going to F them, marry them, or kill them. Here we go. First person is a person who tucks their football jersey into their jeans. Ugh. Person number 2 is someone who thinks the Packers should have stuck with Mike McCarthy as head coach. Person number 3, someone who doesn't like sports betting because it impacts the integrity of the game.
Man, that's tough. So I'm unfortunately I'm gonna have to kill the Mike McCarthy guy. Mike McCarthy,
right off the cliff, right off the top.
Mike McCarthy is a disaster. In fact, if I'm Dallas, I am just offering that job to Kellen Moore right now. I'm marrying the jeans tucked into the jersey tucked into the jeans guy. I could deal with that. And then I guess I'm effing. Well, I only got one more option, right?
Yeah, the integrity of the game person, the one who's just going to be sitting there wagging their finger at you while you're looking at live lines.
I can't stand that person. Damn.
Yeah. All right, next question. True or false? You've had to watch and/or handicap football games with a child's bodily fluids on you. So it's the 3 Ps: poop, pee, or puke. And yeah. I've had all 3 of them on me. So is it true or false for you that you've had to do that?
All 3, actually. All 3. I did not want to get up and did not want to wake the child, so I just sat there in the disgusting warmth of it all. And man, I had the 2 TV set going, had the phone going, had the laptop going, and you know what? It was actually, it was disgusting for about an hour, but it was a peaceful 3 hours of sleep. Then I showered, and like that's what we go through as dads, man. We got to take one for the team.
I basically, any shirts or like, this is the reason why, like, this sweater is very old, but like, I don't ever care. Like, I know that, like, no matter what, if I pick up my child and their face even remotely touches my shoulder, there's a big goober right there, 100%. And so I've accepted that. That's part of the life of being a dad. So if you could do that while also handicapping some NFL games, kudos to you, sir.
You're the best.
All right, next question. You have the Los Angeles Lakers winning the Western Conference. Do you still feel that way now that we're 2 weeks into the season?
No, I'm disgusted by what I've seen from the Los Angeles Lakers. And I said this after opening night. I said, look, I don't want to overreact. I think LeBron's going to have a hell of a season. I could see LeBron win an MVP. They wanted to give it to him last year, and he didn't even play in half of the games. I mean, Jokic was the clear MVP, and ESPN and, the talking heads were trying to make the case for LeBron when he was on the injured list. I don't feel great about that roster right now. They're solid defensively, but I don't feel good enough about them offensively. Russ doesn't seem like a great fit. If Kawhi was healthy, I would have been all over the Clippers. I don't know who I like out of the West right now. I really know I like the Memphis Grizzlies to win 43 games. Other than that, man, I have no clue right now, but I can tell you it is not the Lakers. I think I like the Warriors makeup, and they haven't even had Klay Thompson available yet. So I think I'd probably go with Golden State, and I tore into people who took Golden State this season.
I think if I had to choose right now, it would probably be Utah. And I don't really think very highly of Utah. I just think that if Donovan Mitchell didn't get hurt last year and was kind of coming back from that ankle injury, I think they could have beaten the Clippers, and then eventually, and it would have just been a dogfight between them and the Suns. But I just think that matchup wise, the way that they shoot the three, the depth that they have, and as long as Donovan Mitchell is healthy, he could be the best offensive player on the floor. So I think that's the one team. Don't love it. I'm not really historically, I've never really been a big Jazz guy, but at the same time, just looking at the landscape right now, they're the ones that I would pick, just gun to my head. So next question, Colts, Jets. Colts are minus 10.5. What side are we taking here, Ryan?
Man, it's gross. I've been on the Jets the last couple of weeks. Did not jump on the money line. I probably should have. I'm actually a little bit higher on this Colts team than most. Carson Wentz has been playing pretty solid football until he forgets that he's right-handed and attempts to throw the ball left-handed.
Only his second interception this year. I think that's one thing a lot of people don't realize is that was only his second turnover of the year.
Yeah, or he attempts to do that weird like chest pass thing. I'm going with the Colts as double-digit favorites. I know it's disgusting, man. I think they're still alive to win that division now with the Derrick Henry news, so I'll go Indianapolis.
And you know what's awesome too? I don't know if people, I mean, this is just a little bit of a trend alert for people who like that sort of thing, but I don't know if people know this, but Carson Wentz, 5-0 straight up on Thursday Night Football, 4-1 against the spread. His lone ATS loss was last year versus the Giants when they won 22-21 with the Eagles. So exactly. take that for what it is. Okay, next question. If someone offered you 50,000 to 1 odds for the Detroit Lions to make the playoffs and you had to bet a full unit of your hard-earned radio dollars, would you take that bet?
I could not do it, man. I mean, that is a terrible makeup of a team. When you go into a season with Quintez Cephas as your number one receiver and Jared Goff throwing him the ball, and you know he can't go down the field, you're not good defensively. You got a joke of a coaching staff, who actually I have bought into a little bit more. Can't do it, man. I couldn't take the odds. Also, as a parent, you're going to watch me pick up my laptop and pick up my charger because my son did his homework and didn't tell me last night on my thing. But we'll just proceed.
No, it's all good, man. This is the trials and errors, perils, the highs and lows of being a parent, man.
You ever have?
All right, well, the good news, Ryan. The good news, Ryan, is this is the final question.
Hit me with it.
And this is a Packers-centric question. Can you please explain to everyone the pain of being a fan of a team that has lost back-to-back NFC championships? The floor is yours.
I honestly can't. And the worst part about it, man, is the Super Bowl is my favorite day of the year. And it's so hard to get into it because 2 weeks prior, your team loses in heartbreaking fashion, where last year, my all-time quarterback of all time, the greatest quarterback of all time, in my opinion, not the most decorated, doesn't even get a chance to touch the ball on the final drive as they send the field goal unit out, Mason Crosby. Rodgers never gets the ball back. It's just crushing, man. It's heartbreaking.
Well, the thing is that as somebody who is a Cowboys fan, and not a lot of people feel sympathy for me anyway as a result, but your Packers have basically made me cry a couple of times over the last few years. So you won't get much sympathy from me as well, because I mean, I'm still bitter about Jared Cook from catching that ball on the sideline. I'm still bitter. Man. I'm still bitter that Aaron Rodgers could hold on to a ball while being sacked from behind. Like, I'm still bitter about things like that. And that was like 3 or 4 years ago. I'm still bitter about the Des Bryant catch. Like, you know what I mean? Like, all these
never get over.
Oh, and just I won't let them go. And I still feel justified in that feeling. Now, if I can let go of that hate in my heart, maybe the Cowboys will progress and myself as well. But either way. Now, before we go, Ryan, can you tell the folks at home how they can find your work, what you've got going on, where they can hear all of your fabulous voice being on the airwaves?
I'm on Twitter at Ryan Horvat, RyanHorvat, and we do the show BetMGM Tonight, 7 to 11 p.m. Eastern Time. We're on YouTube, we're on Twitch, and then the Odyssey app, stations all across the globe. So download the Odyssey app or Twitch. You can find us there.
Awesome. All right, well, that's all for me. I want to thank Ryan for joining me today. All of my writing content is over at FTNBets, and you can catch me every Sunday at 11 a.m. Eastern for Touchdown Town, where I give out my best touchdown scores of the week. Thank you for watching Dog Day Afternoon. I'm Gilles Gallant with BetsTV. Bon chance.